Hello, welcome, and congratulations, class of 2015. Fellow seniors, faculty, staff, friends and family, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, our honored guest today, Miss Natalie Portman. As First Marshal, I'm incredibly pleased to welcome you all to Class Day 2015. Today's the day to celebrate a class that's truly seen it all. 5 days of canceled school, 4 March Madness tournaments, 3 CVS locations in the square, 2 hurricanes, and 1 very belated but fun first chance dance. And obviously, 0 defeats to our rivals Yale in the big game. I'd like first to thank everyone on Senior Class Committee. They've spent countless hours planning this day, organizing Senior Week, and leading the many outings, events, senior bars that we've all enjoyed since the fall. They've literally stayed up until 4 a.m. sorting swag, and that counts as dedication. But don't worry, it was a lot of fun. This whole year has been fun. And to all the marshals, house reps, exec team, senior gift co-chairs, and our brilliant Harvard Alumni Association advisors, Clint and John, thank you so much for your selfless service to our class. We've come a very long way since our youthful freshman days. Back when we lined up for an hour for Veritoffels in Annenberg, or that one time we went to office hours. 4 years down the road, we've blossomed in the classroom, conquered Stat 110 exams, and worked in genome sequencing labs to push the frontiers of knowledge. We've played in the Olympics, performed in Carnegie Hall. We've run marathons, partied on boats, sledded down library steps, because YOLO. We've advocated for change and social justice, not only across our nation, but just as importantly, at our very doorstep. So, fellow seniors, please keep dreaming big, speaking up when you see injustice, and creating things and ideas that nobody imagined before. That's what the world calls forth from us today. Now, they say that college isn't about where you go, but what you make out of it. And I'd say that together, we did a pretty good job. Just like President Faust on Tinder, we swiped right. That's all well and good, but I also want to talk briefly about something even more important. In our journey to become the next citizen leaders that Dean Katrina so often mentions, remember the community, the communities that you helped build here. We're moving on, we're moving up, and on Friday at 5 p.m., we're moving out. But no matter what your house administrator tells you, know that you can always find a home at Harvard, and especially in our class. One of the lessons I learned very strongly working with PBHA's Habitat for Humanity program over these last 4 years is that a home isn't 4 walls and a roof. It's the community that lives, breathes, and dances within. And collectively we are, and we must continue to be a home for one another. And though thousands of miles will inevitably separate us in a few days, the home that we've constructed as a class is too strong to be divided. So as we've done throughout college, let's continue to support one another, going forward in our triumphs and especially in our failures. Be there to listen, to talk, to think, to laugh, to console, and to act as one another's biggest cheerleaders. That's what a Harvard home really means. And most importantly, this home is for everyone, because whether you're female or male, black or white, straight or gay, queer, questioning or ally, introvert or extrovert, science or humanities, American citizen, undocumented or international, legacy or first gen, you belong in the class of 2015. And that's a very important message about this ceremony today. As a class of activists and advocates, we engage in so much talk, but let's take stock. Around the clock, how much do we really walk the walk? Our 2015 home has to be inclusive, and everyone belongs in it. For at the end of the day, Harvard isn't the Yard, it isn't Widener, it isn't the Science Center, and it definitely isn't the Sock. Or Soch? Whatever. You see, Harvard is right here. It's in the friends sitting next to you. It's in the professors, the tutors, the proctors, the mentors that we've all been so blessed, so fortunate to have learned from. We are each other's home, because home is where the heart is. Collectively, we hold the flame of this community within us, the flame that breathes life into this beautiful place we call Harvard. Let's be each other's home. Let's carry that flame forever, and never, ever, ever let it go. Thank you and congratulations, class of 2015. Thank you.
Thanks, Tita. Class of 2015, my name is Aleja Jimenez Jaramillo, and I am one of your class marshals living in Mather House.
My name is Caroline Brynan, and I am a proud representative of Cabot House.
The first speaker we have the honor of introducing is someone whose Instagram we obsess over.
Someone we loved watching soar as a ballerina, graceful as a swan.
Someone who has managed to stay humble despite a very successful career. We would almost like to refer to this person as our homie.
And as much as we would like to say Natalie Portman is our homie, we are actually talking about Rakesh Khurana, because some of us literally share a home, Cabot House, with him.
Dean Khurana is the Marvin Bower Professor of Leadership Development at Harvard Business School. In his scholarly work, he has made substantial contributions to the field of leadership education. As a member of the Harvard community, he has continued to demonstrate the importance of transformational leadership.
As we mentioned, he is also the master of Cabot House with his wonderful wife, Stephanie. Dean Khurana's ability and his enthusiasm in working to make this campus a more inclusive and safer space for all have made him a treasured educator, beloved leader, and trusted friend.
Dean Khurana, we are thankful to have been able to spend our last year here under your guidance. Please join us in giving him a very, very warm welcome.
Thank you for your kind introduction. I'm so grateful to you and all the other students who've done so much for your peers, not only during senior year, but also throughout your time at the college. Thank you. So, good afternoon, seniors. Today is your last official day as Harvard College students. And I am sure, well, I'm feeling pretty nervous, so hopefully you're not, but I am sure that at least you might also be feeling some of the other feelings that I'm experiencing right now. Feelings of joy, elation, melancholy, and gratitude. This was a significant and transformational year for all of us, and I have cherished this time with you. And I hope when you look back at Harvard and these last 4 years, your memories will be of the excitement you felt from your time in the classroom, your sense of connection with your friends, and your extracurriculars and your houses, and the sense of confidence that you began to feel as you discovered the values and commitments that mattered to you. I hope you will treasure these years and these experiences because they are now part of your story, but more importantly, they're part of Harvard's 4th-century story. So tomorrow is a solemn day. You will be part of a 364-year tradition. One of my predecessor deans described tomorrow as follows, and I quote, "Commencement ceremonies are wonderfully ritualistic, full of incantation, and free of explanation." In other words, they're supposed to be self-explanatory. So thank you and good luck. No, I'm just kidding. So let me give you a quick preview about what's going to happen tomorrow as it's been passed down to me. So during the commencement exercises, President Faust will confer the degrees upon the university's graduates. First, the PhD and master's degrees will be called. Then, the professional schools will be acknowledged in the reverse order of their founding dates. The deans of each of these schools will be making a brief case for why their students should be allowed to graduate. Each school will offer their own cheers and Some of them will be waving little memorabilia and totems in the air. But then, the most important moment of the entire ceremony will occur. The college, as the oldest and original part of this university, will be called forth. And then we will get a chance to top them all. We are going to remind them of the power of our past and the possibility of our future. So we're going to make some noise, right? Right? We're going to make some noise! They will hear us everywhere. So then when you settle down, I'm going to begin with the salutation that begins, Madam President and Fellows of Harvard College. And this refers to Drew Gilpin Faust and the Fellows of the Harvard Corporation. They are the legal entity that is Harvard University. They technically own Harvard. And the endowment's under the steps over there, and Widener. Just kidding. Then I will greet Mr. President and members of the Board of Overseers. And this refers to the second governing body of our university and its president. And after these salutations, I will announce that you have fulfilled the faculty's requirements for the first degree in arts and sciences, which you will have because it was actually my responsibility yesterday to basically announce that in front of the faculty. So I hope all of you have. And then I'm going to pronounce the following words, in quotes. Each candidate stands ready to advance knowledge, to promote understanding, and to serve society. In other words, I will pronounce that you have fulfilled the mission of Harvard College and are ready to go forth and become the citizens and citizen leaders to serve our society. And your families and loved ones will cheer, and their hearts will be bursting with pride for you. But today, for one last day, you are still Harvard College students. And this afternoon, I want to begin by thanking your amazing family members and loved ones for accompanying you on this journey. No one comes to Harvard alone. The people who sit beside you and behind you have stood behind you for a long time, and many of them have traveled a long way to witness this moment in your life. And each family here has a story that begins with a journey and a dream for their children. One of the greatest gifts for a parent, a grandparent, a godparent, a family member, or friend is to see a child become a fully realized adult. Now let's turn and give them the ovation that they deserve. Stephanie and I have 3 children, and if you parents have any instruction manuals to send our way for how to raise such wonderful children, we would appreciate it. I want to share a story with you about my family. My family immigrated to this country when I was a small child. We lived in a 5th floor walk-up in Hoboken, New Jersey, and when we first immigrated here, we didn't have a car. However, each weekend, my parents would try and find a place that we could get to by public transportation, and that was free, so that we could learn about our new homeland. One of my earliest memories is of visiting Central Park in New York City. Those of you who might have been there might agree with me that those 843 acres in the middle of Manhattan are magical. That when you step inside, you are transported to another world. It's as if somebody had preserved part of that island in its sort of original, natural, and beautiful state. I remember like it was yesterday that my brothers and I would meander along the curving paths and scamper up those giant boulders, feeling like we just conquered Mount Everest. And meanwhile, my parents would be walking behind us, speaking in Punjabi, my mother dressed in a colorful salwar kameez, who was really just about a year or 2 older than many of you, and my adventurous and eternally optimistic father, who had arrived at New York's JFK airport just 2 years earlier, knowing no one and with only $100 in his pocket, but so certain that like millions of people before him, that there would be a place for our family in this nation of immigrants, and that the American dream, a dream that nothing was out of reach for one's children if they worked hard, played fair, and had a little luck, would become our family's reality. I was describing this to a friend of mine a few months ago, and I learned from him that, in fact, there's nothing natural about Central Park at all. I couldn't believe it. So I have this fairly obsessive personality, so I've just been reading about Central Park like crazy for these last few months. It turns out that the land that became Central Park was, up until 1858, a swamp. And not one of those gated swamps, really nice or anything like that. It was like bogs and noxious odors. It took 16 years to transform that swamp. And when it was completed, nearly every tree, rock, plant, and path had been intentionally placed there as part of the grand design of the famous landscape architect, Frederick Law Olmsted. Olmsted's dream for Central Park was that of a creation of a public park in the middle of the city, one that would be equally accessible to every citizen. This vision was rooted in his abiding belief in an inclusive society and that public institutions should serve all citizens. And this was a belief that he had come to during his travels through the slaveholding South and in his abolitionist writings. Because before this time, almost all the great parks of the world had originally been created as playgrounds for aristocrats and royalty. The challenges in creating Central Park were enormous. First, the landscape itself was not very becoming for a park. Olmsted noted, and I quote, "It would have been difficult to find another body of land of 600 acres which possessed less of the most desirable characteristics of a park." And second, in the political hurdles of a country, first on the brink of, and then grappling with the aftermath of the Civil War, it was a country that was shifting from an agrarian to an industrial society. Economic inequality had soared as enormous fortunes were made by a small number of industrialists and financiers. Our national and urban political systems were rife with corruption and plutocrats. Xenophobia against Eastern and Southern Europeans and Asians was prevalent. And like many visionaries before him, people ridiculed Olmsted. They said that change wasn't possible. They said that the masses couldn't be trusted to respect the space, that the common person was incapable of appreciating beauty. But Olmsted and his fellow founders believed that if they could create a landscape so beautiful, so transcendent, that it would reveal an essential human truth, an essential truth that undeniably tells us that each of us is entitled to dignity, an essential truth that tells us that we are not alone and that our fates are one. Over the years, the aspirations for Central Park, like the nation that produced it, have not lived up to the vision of its founders yet. But in every era since its dedication, the vigorous and passionate debates about how this public space should be used and maintained has continually been part of a larger conversation about how we can uphold the values of inclusion and belonging in our democratic society in the face of staggering inequality and sometimes disheartening incivility. That conversation has never been more important than it is right now. Because when you graduate tomorrow, you will be facing a society that is also trying to solve economic inequality and social injustice. And to create those solutions will require not just a vision, your vision, for how we can renew the animating values of this nation and this world, but also a sustained commitment to stepping outside of ourselves and realizing that vision for each other. I do not need to ask you today whether you're capable of meeting those challenges we face. It's so clear to me that you are. During my first year as your dean, I have been humbled and inspired by you and learned so much from you. You in the class of 2015 have so much to be proud of, with your fellowships, admissions to graduate schools, your wonderful internships, your numerous Ivy championships, achievements in the arts, in the laboratory, in the classrooms, your coming together over the years to support each other during difficult times, your support for our communities, not only in Harvard, but outside of Harvard. You're creating the honor code. You're working alongside our staff, shoveling, working in the dining halls during the numerous snowstorms this year. In the beliefs that you have stood up for this year, and the positive changes that you have made on this campus and beyond. No, the question I'm going to be asking you is a little bit more difficult. I'm going to be asking you, who in many ways will be privileged in our society by so many standards, how will you choose to participate in making manifest a better society? What are you going to choose to do with the knowledge you gained here, with the problem-solving ability and the critical thinking skills you've developed? What kind of person did you become during these past 4 years? And what kind of person are you going to be when you leave here? What will be your Central Park? Tomorrow, I will, without hesitation, pronounce you ready to, quote, advance knowledge, to promote understanding, and to serve society. But I think when we look around, it's often not the skill that's missing in our world, where we see so many opportunities to improve our society, but the will, and you must be willing. When you walk out of these gates tomorrow, and through the many doors that Harvard will open for you, it's going to be very tempting and easy to ignore these hard questions. In doing so, you may be choosing a comfortable life. But through so many of the conversations I've had with many of you, I don't think it will be the challenging and fulfilling life that so many of you share with me that you want to have and aspire to. It's this more challenging and fulfilling life that I hope you will choose. And I hope that wherever you go, you carry with you the best parts of the community that you have found here at Harvard, and leave those parts of Harvard that we don't like behind. I hope you will strive to create a sense of belonging, and that you will enhance the connections between those you encounter. I hope you will seek out and embrace those with different views, even when doing so seems difficult and challenging. I hope you will act for the common good, and that you will see that your fate is tied to the fate of everyone else. And I hope, above all, that you will live your lives with intention and dedication, and that you will see nobility and commitment to something larger than yourself. I hope that wherever you encounter a swamp, and you will leave behind a Central Park. I am so proud of each and every one of you. Having this opportunity to serve as your dean for this year, to live with you on campus in so many different ways, is a gift that I don't know how I could ever repay. I look forward to watching your dreams becoming a reality. Congratulations, class of 2015.
Good afternoon, seniors. My name is Mandi, Nyambi, and I am your class secretary.
Good afternoon. My name is Jane Chung. Tommy Chen and I are your class media masters.
Our class has had an interesting run with emails over these last 4 years. From learning how to subscribe to the freshman class-wide list, to realizing that emails are just as demanding as text messages. From email scandals in the faculty, to learning the difference between BCC and CC, to finding out how interesting things can get with the reply all function. I've enjoyed sharing my favorite gifts, reflecting on our time here, and seeing you all at the wide range of SCC-sponsored events. My life and my inbox will never be the same. Moving forward into alumni life, we won't be getting those pesky house emails about needing to borrow Swiffers or Gmail seminars. Instead, you'll be getting updates from me about reunions and the accomplishments of our classmates. I'll be announcing when one of us is elected president, for it's inevitable. Others of us start successful companies and provide logistics about our fifth year reunion. What I'm trying to say is, you may think you're leaving Harvard and SCC behind in 2 days, but diamonds are forever, so I'm not going anywhere. Commencement at its core is a transition into something greater.
As I'm sure we'll hear many times throughout the next 2 days, today marks not an end, but a beginning. I am so excited to see how we venture out into our new playground, the real world, as we like to call it, as we hop in and out of jobs, universities, fellowships, research and service projects, as we climb from place to place, country to country, monkey bar over new challenges into the high grounds of accomplishment. I hope that as classmates, friends, brothers, sisters, I hope we can stay in touch. But I hope staying in touch means so much more than just a hello at a city meetup or a bi-yearly Facebook message. We've entered this place, Harvard Yard, to grow in wisdom together. We've had transformational experiences thanks to support and love from Dean Khurana and so many other mentors in our university. And as we depart this week to serve better our countries and our kind together, I hope we will be here for each other just as we have been the past 4 years. I hope we will be here for each other during the daring transitions, the uncertain futures, the heartbreaks, as we are doing the things we are breathtakingly afraid of, the things we think we cannot do. I hope we will be here for each other every step of the way.
Moving forward, we will help you take those steps together. Our job, along with that of the HAA, is to make sure that you never have to make friends the normal way ever again. Take advantage of the resources we've created, like the 2015 Facebook page, Map 15, and the alumni directory, wherever and whenever you're in need of reconnecting with a fellow classmate. While Match 15 has been erased from the interwebs, hashtag Pizza Pizza lives on. We've spent 4 years building a remarkable community. Let's continue to grow that for a lifetime. Wherever you go next, know that Harvard is with you, not only in your inbox, but also in community. I hope that you'll stay in touch. Over and out.
Thank you, Mandi and Jane. We look forward to staying connected in the coming years. I'm Leah Goldman, Florzheimer House representative.
I'm Amira Abedallah, and I'm very proud to represent Lowell House.
And I'm Megan Malsick, Mather House representative. During these past few years, we have taken part in a number of Harvard traditions. We celebrated our house pride with shouts, cheers, and face paint on Housing Day under the warmth of the March sunshine in Cambridge. And we fearlessly leaped off Weeks Bridge into the crystal clear waters of the Charles River. And we visited the John Harvard statue for good luck and ran by his watchful eye each semester during Primal Scream.
We have also started new traditions. 2015 is a class of many firsts. 4 years ago, right here in this theater, we were the third class ever to receive a Harvard freshman convocation. A university that only closed twice in the 20th century has closed 5 times during our time here. And as seniors, we were the only class to have our first chance dance and our last chance dance in the very same semester.
Another one of these firsts is the class color tradition. This tradition began as a way for classes to distinguish themselves on the football field and on the river. 3 class colors, green, orange, and blue, represented Harvard's fiercest academic and athletic rivals, Dartmouth, Princeton, and Yale. The tradition fell out of use during the 20th century and was reinstated when the class of 2012 gave us our color, blue. Today, our color is a way for us to connect to the past as we carry the same color that the class of 1886 first wore. and to the future as we give our color to the class of 2018.
Wearing the colors of our rivals was a way to triumph over them and express victory. Our class color blue once served to represent our dominance over Yale. Throughout our time here, however, our superiority has been demonstrated in many more ways. For example, Harvard football topped Yale the past 8 seasons, this year with a last-minute victory. Yale men's basketball suffered a last-second loss to Harvard, propelling the Crimson to its 4th straight NCAA tournament. Steve. And if that isn't convincing enough, on the ice, women's hockey swept the Bulldogs all 4 times, including in the playoffs, where men's hockey also defeated Yale in double overtime as part of the longest game in Harvard history.
As these accomplishments show, the color blue is no longer needed to signify our dominance over Yale. Blue represents something different for us. Not only does it serve to unite us as a class, it reminds us that our Harvard experience is unique in the many ways that we've revitalized and modified existing traditions. As we graduate tomorrow, let this anecdote of our class color remind you that even in the oldest of institutions, there is always room for change. So we encourage you, class of 2015, to continue pioneering traditions of your own wherever you go next. Thank you.
Good afternoon, 2015. My name is Shih, and I'm the proud representative of WINTHROP House.
And I'm KJ Stime, representative for ELIOT House.
We're honored to introduce the incoming president of the Harvard Alumni Association, Paul Choi, Harvard College class of 1986 and Harvard Law School class of 1989.
Paul was born in Korea and raised in Chicago. At Harvard, he was a member of Pforzheimer House and a concentrator in economics. He was a Harvard Crimson editor, wrote for the Harvard International Review, and volunteered with Cambridge Elementary School students. When he returned as a member of the Harvard Law School class of 1989, Paul was an editor of the Harvard Law Review and a resident tutor in Cabot House.
Since leaving Cambridge, Paul has been very active in alumni affairs. He's conducted interviews for the college admissions office for over 20 years and served as president of the Harvard Club of Chicago. For the Harvard Alumni Association, Paul has served in many roles, elected director, secretary, and vice president. Starting in July, there will be one more title on the list, president of the Harvard Alumni Association.
We are delighted to have Paul with us on this special occasion as he welcomes us to our new alumni community. Please join us in welcoming Paul Choi, incoming president of the Harvard Alumni Association.
Thank you, KJ. Thank you, Cindy, for that warm introduction. I am indeed a very proud alum of FOHO. And yes, FOHO. And I was a tutor in Cabot House. So I spent a lot of time in the quad. And I have to say, I love being in the quad. I was in the best cardiovascular shape of my life right here. Those of you in the quad know exactly what I'm talking about. I am so delighted to be here and to celebrate this wonderful day with you. Congratulations on 4 years of hard work and 4 years of accomplishments. I say that not only for myself, but also on behalf of more than 300,000 Harvard alumni from all around the world. And welcome to our ranks. Almost 30 years ago, I sat where you are in the audience. So I think I have a pretty good idea of what's on most of your minds right now. How much longer before we hear from Natalie Portman? I know. Soon, very soon. Commencement events are a natural time to be nostalgic. So as I was thinking about what I might say to you today, I thought I would share some reflections from my own class day 30 years ago. I quickly realized that there was going to be a problem because I have absolutely no memory of my class day. None whatsoever. I couldn't remember who any of the speakers were or anything they might have said. So I called over to the alumni office and I asked them for some materials about my class day. Maybe a copy of our program, maybe a text of some of the speeches, that sort of thing. A few days later, I ran into another problem because Harvard Archives came back and said they had no records of my class day. I want to tell you how extraordinary that is. If you don't know this already, you'll soon find out that Harvard maintains meticulous records of you as an alum. I've always marveled that you can move from place to place all around this country, and no matter where you are, somehow Harvard Magazine shows up in your mailbox. It's true, you're going to find out. Fortunately, all was not lost because Harvard sent me, as sort of a plan B, a link to a Crimson article about my class day. Now, as a former Crimson editor, it's really quite amusing to see Harvard relying on Crimson reporting for its historical records. It's a bit frightening as well. The Crimson article reminded me that our class day speaker was Peter Ueberroth, who was then the commissioner of Major League Baseball and who had successfully organized the 1984 Summer Olympic Games. With the further help of Google, I learned that he spoke to our class about how we could do anything and be anything, which, as you know, is the typical commencement speech. But despite some persistent looking, I still could not find any records of what the incoming Harvard Alumni Association president had said to us. So based on all that, I have no illusion that you will remember anything that I will have to say to you this afternoon. And certainly not decades from now. No, my goal is much more focused on the present. I want to encourage each of you to start your life as an alum by staying connected to Harvard and getting involved with what the Alumni Association has to offer. Now, there's a lot I could say about how you could do all of that, but it's always good to hear from recent alums about what they want. As it turns out, the Alumni Association sent out a survey just this past winter of those 1 year ahead of you, the class of 2014. I want to focus on one survey question in particular that was asked. How can Harvard best serve you as a recent graduate? I thought I would read you some of the responses, all of which were anonymous. One person from the class of 2014 wrote, Harvard can best serve me by making their academic resources readily available. Yes, we can definitely do that. Another said, keep me connected to Harvard, both the college and the alumni. That's what we do best. One person wrote, provide networking opportunities. Absolutely. Some responses, though, were more to the point. Please give me a job. Maybe. Some were even more direct. Give me money to live. That's an actual response. You may be on your own there. But here's my favorite. How can Harvard best serve you? Please leave me alone. Well, on that last response, frankly, we know who you are. From now on, every month, you'll be getting 2 copies of Harvard Magazine. In all seriousness, for those of you who want to stay connected to your classmates and to meet other alums, go to the Welcome to Your City events that are taking place in more than 40 cities around the world. Come back to the Harvard-Yale game. Stop by your old house. Come to your reunions. Please join one of the 190 Harvard clubs around the world or any of the 50 shared interest groups. If you want to stay connected to Harvard and have a role in shaping future classes, then you should volunteer to be an alumni interviewer for the college. If you're looking for opportunities for lifelong learning and to stay connected to Harvard's intellectual riches, then you can do that through Harvard X and through the Harvard clubs. I think my college friends and classmates would tell you that it's pretty improbable, for lots of reasons, that I would one day become the president of the Alumni Association. I wasn't a class officer, I wasn't a member of my class committee, but I did have one of those transformative experiences that people do talk about. Harvard provided me with incredible opportunities and lifelong friends. When I began working as a young lawyer in Chicago, I stayed engaged with Harvard by volunteering as an alumni interviewer. From that simple start, my involvement with our alumni grew. I want to say a brief final word to those of you who did not have as positive an experience as mine and who would indeed like to be left alone by Harvard after you graduate. I would just ask that you keep your school, your classmates, and your alumni community in mind as you leave here. I'm old enough to know that there are indeed seasons in life, but you should keep in mind that you are a member for life in one of the world's greatest alumni networks, one with global reach and fabulous resources. There may come a time when the Alumni Association can help meet a professional or social need, or there may be a time when you just want to reconnect with the college and with your classmates. Our Alumni Association has been around for 174 years, and it will still be there if you want to take a look one day. Well, we're about 7 minutes closer now to hearing from Natalie Portman, and it's been a great privilege to have this opportunity to speak with you. Congratulations again, class of 2015, and the warmest of welcomes to the Harvard Alumni Association.
My name is Tian Hao He. I'm a proud resident of Mather House and one of your senior gift co-chairs this year. To the class of 2015, take a moment and think back to where we all were 4 years ago. It is nothing short of remarkable that we would all end up here in this yard on this day celebrating our transformative Harvard experience. Today, we celebrate all of the improbable stories that Harvard has made possible not only for ourselves, but also for our families. You know, when my family immigrated to the United States of America 15 years ago this very spring, my parents could never have imagined that one day I would be standing up here on this stage. Today, I say thank you to Harvard and its generous financial aid program for making our family's improbable dream not only possible, but affordable. That is what Senior Gift is all about. Because, you see, Senior Gift is so much more than just a fundraising campaign. Senior Gift is an opportunity to bring our class together to do something really big for a place that has forever changed the trajectories of all of our lives.
My name is Katie Gamble. I'm one of your Senior Gift co-chairs, and I'm a proud resident of Cabot House. But congratulations, class of 2015. We made history. By raising 376 gifts at the recurring or leadership level, we secured an additional $100,000 donation from a Harvard family for Dean Khurana to use to support House life. For the past 3 years, I've been lucky enough to call Cabot House my home and to call Stephanie and Rakesh my housemasters. In that time, I've witnessed the incredible sense of identity and belonging that a strong house community can provide, and how instrumental Dean Khurana has been in nurturing that community. Our $100,000 accomplishment should be a source of incredible pride for our class and one of great promise for our younger peers. We are all so excited to see how this gift will be used to make Harvard a more open, inclusive, and vibrant place for undergraduate life in the coming years.
Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa Song. I'm a proud resident of Pforzheimer House. This year, over 1,000 of you stepped up and made your first gift to Harvard. And over 150 of you stepped up to join our Senior Gift leadership team as volunteers. We raised 106 gifts at the associates level, earning our class a place in the Century Club, recognition of our class's incredible leadership level commitment to Harvard. Furthermore, we raised a record-setting 305 recurring gifts, an unprecedented signal of our class's enduring dedication to the future of this institution. Thank you, everyone, for showing your crimson pride and being a part of the single largest collective effort that our class will undertake together.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon, and I'm a proud member of Adam's house. So Harvard has probably left a different mark on each of us. Maybe you took a class here that changed the way you look at the world. Maybe you found a mentor who supported you through those inevitable times of confusion and insecurity. Maybe you met friends here who will be there for you for the rest of your life. It wasn't always easy or obvious, but I myself found all of the above in this yard. For both my sister, who is a rising senior in Dunster House, and myself, none of this would have been possible without alumni who give back to this place every year. All the money we raise from Senior Gift goes to directly benefiting students here at the college. It is incredibly important to remember that Harvard has always been supported by philanthropy, and that from financial aid to advising, to house life, to athletics, and to general education, the incredible richness of our Harvard College experience would simply not be possible without the generous commitment of our alumni.
My name is Cindy Guan, and I am a proud resident of Kirkland House. The conversations that we started this spring through Senior Gift are just the beginning of a lifelong engagement with Harvard as alumni. As we graduate, we invite you to be part of a rich tradition of alumni, volunteers, whose enduring commitment to Harvard helps make this place the best place to be an undergraduate. A community like Harvard only thrives and endures because individuals step up to continually reimagine how Harvard can be better and do better. As lifelong citizens of Harvard, it is ultimately up to each and every one of us to take an active role in shaping what the Harvard experience might be like for future generations of students. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior Gift team, and congratulations on making history 2015. My name is Mwarania, a proud resident of Lowell House, and I'm pleased to serve as your class treasurer. It is now my great pleasure to introduce the first student orator of this afternoon. Many know this joint literature, women, gender, and sexuality studies contributor by her critically acclaimed and virally shared columns on the Harvard Crimson. Or perhaps it's through Manifesta, the social justice magazine that she co-founded. Whatever it is, there's no denying Reina Gattuso's knack for salient, relatable, and ever-relevant social commentary that has sparked campus-wide conversations about the issues affecting our community. In fact, her senior thesis on the relationship between LGBTQ activism and with Bollywood film industry in India won her the Eugene R. Cummings Prize, and she'll be returning to India after graduation to expand on the research with a Fulbright fellowship. Thank you, Reina, for always asking those hard questions, and of course, being an awesome blockmate. And so 2015, here with I Am Out, and So Can You, is my dear friend, renowned $4 wine critic, and your 2015 Harvard female orator, Reina Gattuso.
To the members of the Harvard College class of 2015 with whom I have made out, hello. To the parents of the members of the Harvard College class of 2015 with whom I have made out, your daughter is a lesbian. To my mother. I am now going to change the subject. I'm I'm sure you read the title of this speech and you thought, this girl has a gay agenda. I do. My agenda is so gay, it co-hosted Ellen. But the particular gay agenda I slid in on a rainbow to deliver to you today is not just mine, and it's not just for gay people. This gay agenda is for all of us, and it can be summed up in 2 words. Come out. When was the last time you came out about something? I don't just mean sexuality. Maybe you told someone you had a crush on them. Maybe you opened up about a hardship you have faced. Maybe you asked for help when you really needed it. These are all different kinds of coming out. These are all moments when you could have pretended that you were invulnerable, but you chose to be open. About the things that have kept you back, the things that have kept you down, the things you are afraid of. When we are out about these things, in our work, in our relationships, we allow ourselves to be the brilliant, unruly people we are, and we give each other permission to come out too. We are about to graduate from Harvard University. We are about to graduate from one of the most esteemed and wealthiest institutions in the world, and we are about to become bosses. I mean this colloquially. I'm a boss, you're a boss, Natalie Portman is a boss. But I mean this literally too. A lot of us are about to become very powerful people, and that's great. Because here at Harvard, we have all the skills required of effective leadership: decisiveness, empathy, determination, except one. When it comes to vulnerability, we are as second-rate as Yale. And that makes sense. It is hard to be out about the things that have kept us back when everyone around us is soaring. Many of us have been told that we are the wrong race, or the wrong gender, or from the wrong income bracket, or with the wrong abilities, or with the wrong passions to be truly great. So we hide. But if we are going to use the power we feel every time we tell someone where we go to school to make the world a better place, we need to come out. I came out to my dad in May 2012, on the same day Barack Obama came out in favor of gay marriage. Everyone was talking about gay people and their tasteful wedding decor, gay people and the downfall of America. I was like, who, me? Straight. My father and I were watching the news. Fox said, Barack Obama is a birth certificate-less homosexual. My father said, Reina, I am so proud of you for finishing your first year at Harvard. I said, Daddy, I'm bisexual. He cried, and then he hugged me. And he continued supporting me as I proceeded to not only be out about my sexuality, but to write about it bi-weekly as a columnist in the pages of the Harvard Crimson. Daddy, even though I'm graduating, I will continue to write about sex on the internet. Coming out allowed me to be more honest with my family. It empowered me also to pursue the creative career that I love. And when I started opening up about my vulnerabilities in the pages of the Harvard Crimson, something incredible happened. You all started talking back. You met me with stories of your own struggles, your own fears. Your courage amazed me. And your friendship taught me that none of us, not one of us, is ever truly alone. What will you come out about? Maybe you will speak up when something makes you uncomfortable at your job, and you will begin a task force to address diversity in your workplace. Maybe you will ask for help when you hit a roadblock on a project, and you will begin the collaboration that will make your career. Maybe you will open up with a crush about your complicated family history, And they will also have a complicated family history, and you will make a complicated family of your own. I hope we have the courage to do it. Because when we're out, not only do we think better, work better, love better, when we're out, we allow the radical, breathtaking originality of our personhood to shine through. And we validate the dignity of everyone. Members of the Harvard College class of 2015, we may not have made out, but we are making something. The novels and the families, the governments and the economies of a different, better, more just, more equitable future. Come out. Come out with your entire weird, wonderful being. Come out for yourself. Come out for your classmates. Come out for that nerdy kid whose life you are about to transform. We need you desperately. Class of 2015, let's go make a more fabulous world.
Good afternoon, my fellow 2015ers. I'm Josh Scott, one of your class marshals. And it is my absolute pleasure to be introducing the next speaker, the one, the only, Ethan Gabriel Lowy. So, Ethan first walked into my life at the onset of sophomore year. One of my blockmates decided to take time off at the last minute. So my roommates and I thought we had somehow beaten the Dunster housing system and were already making plans to make and transform this coveted extra room into the best Bomberman video game suite you have ever seen this side of the Mississippi. But Ethan here, this random tall kid from Colorado, waltzed right on into A33 and dropped his luggage down smack dab on top of our dreams and aspirations of creating the ultimate man cave. However, family and friends of the class of 2015, do not fret. For this tale of first world woes does indeed have a happy ending. Unbeknownst to us, we did win the housing game. We got Ethan. And let me tell you, this guy is incredibly talented. So I'm ecstatic that you will all be getting a glimpse at one of Ethan's many gifts before piecing out of here. But what's even more impressive to me, beyond his skill as a writer, is his willingness to make himself vulnerable and try new things despite any lingering fears or apprehension. And so, without further ado, please put your hands together and welcome to the podium, Ethan Gabriel Lowy.
Ariana Grande once said, "Don't ever doubt yourself or waste 1 second of your life. It's too short and you're too special." Powerful words. But I'm not just here to bombard you with incredibly profound quotes. In fact, I'm actually here to disagree with Miss Grande, though it pains me to contradict such a prominent cultural and intellectual leader. At first glance, her quote seems like a harmless collection of graduation speech cliches. Believe in yourself, you're special, you are all going to be president. But let's take a closer look at this gem of wisdom through the always helpful lens of academic analysis. Miss Grande makes two normative statements that I would designate as potentially problematic. Firstly, that life is too short, and secondly, that we are special. Maybe it's too long, and we're not. But I'd like to overlook these concerns for now to get to the most troubling piece of Miss Grande's advice. Don't ever doubt yourself. Don't ever doubt yourself. First of all, it's not realistic advice. I'm sure that every one of us in our 4 years at Harvard has come to know self-doubt. Maybe we were unsure of our niche in the vast Harvard ecosystem, or what career path we should follow after graduation. Maybe the doubt itself became a source of anxiety that we strove to silence, to find airtight confidence and a straightforward path through life, rather than struggle with the frightening and ambiguous challenges that self-doubt can present. As graduates of a place like Harvard, this type of evasive overconfidence can sneak up on us. We're young, we're successful, we have society's stamp of approval. Everything's going right for us, so we must be living our lives the right way. But this closed-minded, deterministic thinking, while it can bring us comfort, can also blind us to meaningful introspection. All too often, we associate doubt with a lack of courage or confidence, but today I'd like to argue just the opposite. I think that to doubt yourself in an honest and unsparing way actually requires courage. To question your path through life at age 22 or 52 is an act of humility that I hope we will not abandon the second we win our first paycheck or first award. Self-doubt is more than just a growing pain or fixture of your final year at college. It's something constructive, something illuminating that can guide us at any stage of life. Now, just for the record, yes, I am aware that graduation speeches are supposed to be uplifting. So if all this talk of doubt is bringing you down, I want to clarify the following. Friends, classmates, comrades, you are wonderful and talented individuals. But as young Harvard graduates, we have no shortage of people telling us that we are great. And while each and every one of us deserves the strength of self-belief, let's try to balance it with the perspective of self-doubt. Now, my personal balance has always been weighted a little more heavily towards doubt, which is an understated way of saying that if competitive neuroticism were an Olympic sport, I would be its Michael Phelps. But ultimately, I'm grateful for my ability to question myself. Doubt can feel like a burden, but I believe it's a burden worth carrying. One especially positive aspect of doubt is that it helps us think through our decisions. And we've all had to make some big ones lately, about where to go and what to do and why. Senior year is a time of tremendous doubt for many of us. And in the crucible of all that uncertainty, it is so tempting to choose the safest or most popular options presented to us, to make the low-risk decision rather than the one that is true to our passion and ideals. We've all faced some variant of this challenging crossroads. Personally, I've long wanted to be a teacher or maybe a writer. But ever since my freshman year, a great number of people, from friends to family to drunk strangers on airplanes, have told me that I should become a lawyer. Ethan, they'd say, you're moderately good with words. You have a loud, didactic voice. So it's settled. I never wanted to be a lawyer, but the pressure came from a lot of places. The aforementioned drunk stranger on an airplane even told me that by becoming a teacher or a writer, I would be wasting my Harvard diploma. But he then proceeded to open up Sky Mall and order a set of matching beer cozies, so I think I can take that opinion with a grain of salt. And yet, despite having little passion or ability for it, I almost applied to law school. I had taken steps towards becoming a writer, but no one was offering me a book contract, and I was so petrified of being seen as a failure that I almost accepted a career I knew was not right for me, simply because it felt safe. As I learned from this experience, some people have implicit assumptions about what Harvard students should do with their lives, certain predetermined paths to a predetermined image of success. And in the stressful, tumultuous uncertainty of senior year, it's easy and tempting to ignore our doubts and just go with the flow, to be overwhelmed by the comforting allure of money or prestige. And my fear is certainly not that we will sell out. That would be an unfair judgment to make. Everyone needs to pay the bills, and I'm sure many of us will go on to be great philanthropists. But I worry that by not sufficiently questioning our path through life, we may struggle to find lives of joy and purposeful work. As a member of the class of 2015, I've seen firsthand just how smart and capable you all are, and how driven you are to make the world a better place, which is why I would hate to see even one of us get stuck doing work we don't believe in. Now, again, to be clear, I'm not saying there is anything wrong with being a lawyer, or banker or consultant, or any job that falls under the umbrella of lucrative and prestigious. The world needs talented, good-hearted people to do these jobs. But let's doubt the assumption that the most lucrative, prestigious path is necessarily the best path for us. Above all, let's pursue our prospective careers because we find them meaningful. And I don't presume to tell you what makes a career meaningful. I merely ask that we ask, and ask rigorously. Don't repress your doubt, confront it. And if you haven't found your purpose yet, keep searching, because it is better to struggle with tough existential questions than to come up with forced or unsatisfying answers, and better to fail in pursuit of a worthy goal than succeed in achieving a hollow one. Class of 2015, we have every reason to believe in ourselves. But let's not be afraid to question ourselves as well. Doubt has helped me find some perspective on my future. Maybe it can do the same for you, because we are all just searching for a meaningful path through life. And if we keep asking questions, I am confident, not doubtful, that we will find it. Thank you, classmates. Thank you, Harvard. I love you guys.
Good afternoon, faculty, friends, and family of the class of 2015. My name is Chikadike Wokike.
And my name is Sadir Puluru.
And we are thrilled to be serving as two of your class marshals. Today, it is our honor to introduce the recipients of the Richard Glover and Henry Russell Ames Memorial Award. As many of you already know, the members of the class of 2015 have shown a great commitment to service of others over the past 4 years. This includes service to Harvard, the nation, and our global community. Many members of our great class have gone 4 years without any recognition of their hard work, compassion, and determination to help others. However, the Richard Glover and Henry Russell Ames Memorial Award works to honor two unsung heroes of the class of 2015.
On June 19, 1935, Richard Glover Ames and Henry Russell Ames, brothers and Harvard students, gave their lives to save their father, who was washed overboard during a storm off the coast of Newfoundland. Every year since, the Ames Award has been given in their memory to recognize two members of our class who have shown energy in helping others and who exhibit the same heroic character and inspiring leadership as the Ames brothers. The selection committee received a large number of nominations from faculty, housemasters, tutors, and fellow seniors. The decision process was incredibly difficult, and we could not be more proud of our classmates who have made such a tremendous impact on their communities. We invite all of the nominees for this year's Ames Awards to please stand or raise their hand to be recognized for their commitment to service and leadership.
At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the first recipient of this year's Ames Award, and Sadir will present the second. The Ames Award honors those who strive to engage the knowledge nurtured and the skills developed during their undergraduate careers for the betterment of others. In reverence of the legacy of Richard Glover Ames and Henry Russell Ames, this award identifies classmates who have integrated their passion for service and key awareness of societal issues into their undergraduate experience, influencing positive change in the communities they have impacted. Today, I have the privilege to speak briefly about how one of our fellow classmates used his time to help disadvantaged minorities through education. Our first of today's Ames Award recipients has been dedicated to addressing racial inequities through education in the greater Cambridge region. Our recipient recognizes how effective education can improve the development of minority communities throughout the United States, where systemic discrimination has historically and still cripples the intellectual growth, socioeconomic mobility, and civil liberties of African Americans. Serving as freshman representative, public service chair, and Vice President of the Black Men's Forum. He has championed the organization's community outreach efforts, planning and coordinating voter education forums, mental health panels, an IOP policy group addressing mass incarceration and disenfranchisement, and We Stand With Ferguson protests against police brutality. He challenged our peers to pay it forward and participate in PBHA's David Walker Scholars Program, a mentoring program for middle school boys of color in Cambridge that he directed. He continued his strong community engagement efforts through his role as a Leaders Director of PBHA's Summer Urban Program, where he oversaw the training, development, and employment of over 100 youth counselors throughout a network of 12 summer day camps for low-income children throughout the Cambridge and Boston area, supporting more than 1,500 camp participants. He has effectively applied his skill set and expertise in the classroom setting as the course assistant for dilemmas of equity and excellence in America's K-12 education, and as a sixth grade student teacher at the Community Charter School of Cambridge. Next year, our recipient will return to his hometown in Washington, D.C., where he'll continue his work in community engagement and educational enrichment as a teacher. Members of this recipient's house community cite his intellectual curiosity and commitment to refining his practice as indicative of his continued success in the fight for equity and social justice for youth of color. Please join me in congratulating our first Ames Award recipient, resident of Quincy House, fellow member of the class of 2015, and my dear friend, Fadal Anthony Moore.
She works tirelessly for the causes that she believes matter, often quietly and without recognition. Though many students at Harvard work hard, she channels her efforts into engaging her fellow students in social justice causes, all the while recognizing the importance of building friendships and bringing joy to dark places in the world. The impact she has had goes beyond what she can imagine or will admit, for she is humble and does not seek credit for her work. Perhaps more significantly, however, she has worked outside pre-established groups to fill remaining gaps in services in communities both at Harvard and in the Philippines. She self-started and coordinated the Philippines Forum J-Term trip that brought together a diverse group of performance artists from Kumba, marching band, hip-hop dance, orchestra, and even wushu martial arts to give street children in the Philippines a chance to use art as a means to express themselves in a positive way. Watching her work tirelessly to give children a chance to tell their own stories through art, to give a voice to those who are often unheard, is something that will stick with me forever. She fulfilled her role as Director of Operations of the Igniting Innovation Summit, the largest undergraduate-run conference on social innovation. She constantly asked, what more can we do? How can we use what we have to help others? She brought to life the Village to Raise a Child program, which succeeded in bringing 5 groups of high school-age social entrepreneurs from all over the world to Harvard. She set up Kickstarter funds for the students, raising over $15,000 for their projects. She co-founded College Admissions Mentors for Peers in the Philippines, CAMP, an organization that mentors Filipino youth through the international college admissions process. And in November 2013, when Typhoon Haiyan caused damage in the Philippines, necessitating enormous international aid, she worked tirelessly around the clock to develop a charity concert in just 4 days. The concert gathered audience members and performers from throughout Cambridge and Boston and raised over $12,000 in donations. On a local scale, she spent her last summer helping to launch a new KIPP charter school in Harlem, New York. She spent her mornings in Boston teaching middle schoolers through Harvard's undergraduate teaching education program. She led the Freshman International Program in order to help first-year international students feel welcome and engaged from the beginning of their experience at Harvard. She embodies what it is to lead and to do good and bring good to the world without expecting anything in return. She does this because this is who she is. Besides these formal acts of service, however, she quite simply lives a life of service in the truest sense of the word, performing daily acts of kindness for her friends, her classmates, her students, and even for strangers when given the opportunity. Her ability to touch lives is subtle and may go unnoticed in some cases, but I know that I and many others at Harvard have been profoundly impacted by our friendship with her. She embodies what it means to be an unsung hero. In fact, the fact that we initially overlooked her for this prize despite her uniquely heroic service endeavors, many of which she founded because of gaps she saw in what was being provided, speaks to just how much she has been out of the spotlight. The fact that her friends approached the tutors in an effort to make a community-based push for her nomination is a testament to the deep and genuine connections that she forges with all those she meets. She's truly an exceptional person who gives of herself wholly and honestly to others. What you do is not easy. It is draining, physically and emotionally draining. And through the late nights alone, you may have found yourself asking questions of self-doubt, which is natural. Am I making a difference? Does any of this matter? Today is our chance to tell you, yes, you matter. You made all those you interacted with better people, and you made the world a better place. On behalf of all of the lives you have touched, including mine, thank you for the late nights of emailing and handling logistics, the sturdy shoulder to cry on, the warm smile that brightens our days, and for renewing our faith that good people exist in this world. Please show some love for our second Ames Award recipient, resident of Mather House, a lover and a giver, Michelle Denise Ferrier.
Congratulations, Ames Awards recipients. Good afternoon. My name is Christina Nguyen, and I represent Quincy House for the class of 2015.
And my name is Casey Fleeter, and I have had the pleasure of serving as the Leverett House representative this year.
Everything at Harvard moves very quickly. Each day brings brighter opportunities, Boston new challenges, and spontaneous change. We advance as scholars, develop meaningful relationships, and grow as individuals. But sometimes, life confronts us with the most difficult and trying event of all, loss. Helen Keller said, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart." Loss reminds us to wake up and dream bigger, to smile wider, to laugh harder, and to live for one another and for those who have passed. There are classmates, mentors, and loved ones who will not be able to join us tomorrow, but we will never forget the impacts they made on us and other people.
We would like to take a moment to reflect on these friends who cannot be with us today. Sadly, our class suffered a great loss last year. To commemorate Angela Matthew, we invite to the stage her blockmates, Kaylee Henry, Alexis Wilkinson, and Bernadette Wharton. These women, along with the rest of Angela's blockmates and close friends, have been a paradigm of strength throughout the last year. Please join me in welcoming them.
In February of 2014, we lost our dear friend, Angela Matthew, in a tragic car accident. Tomorrow, when we are in our caps and gowns, a very special part of our class will be missing. Angela brought joy to everyone she encountered. Her heartfelt compliments, fierce loyalty to her friends, and dedication to everything she participated in was contagious. She radiated life. I often walked through her room late at night to find her working on a pre-med assignment that was incomprehensible to me. She always took the time to look up, smile, and exchange some sassy comments before going back to work for hours. Ange was a leader, someone we all looked up to. In the days following her death, I was overwhelmed by the amount of people she touched. I heard stories of her picking up fallen friends and reaching out to those she noticed were hurting. I had personally experienced her acts of kindness, but I was unaware that she touched so many other people as well. Angela was almost painfully beautiful, but also overwhelmingly human. She turned heads not only for her beauty, but for her poise, intelligence, and personal excellence as well. Even though she appeared flawless, she was still humble. She took time to make people smile. She touched everyone she met.
There are a million other things we could say about Angela, and so many memories we could share. But today, as we begin this new chapter in our lives, I think that it's important for us to reflect on what we can learn and take forward with us from this untimely loss. Last year, we were quickly reminded that youth is not equivalent to invincibility, and that life can change in an instant. As cliche as it is, I think the most important thing to learn from loss is that the small mistakes that may seem so important to us now are tremendously incidental in the grand scheme of things. In the year since Angela's passing, I found that I don't think about our petty roommate squabbles, but rather the smile she would give us as she would return back to the room from a late night in Love Library. Similarly, when I look back on my Harvard experience, it will be the fond memories of friends rather than that one grade in Ellis 1B that I'll be looking back on.
This school, in particular, can make you feel crazy about all those dumb little things, every tiny mistake and every less than perfect outcome, but none of that really matters. What matters is being together, being here, and being happy. This is an opportunity to think about those who are not here, and at the same time to celebrate ourselves, class of 2015, with all our losses and victories. We made it. We did it. We got this far, some way or another, despite difficulties, despite tragedy. And we're here. And what a wonderful thing it is to be here, to have so much of our lives ahead of us, and to get to know people like Angela, even if just for a little while. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylee, Bernadette, and Alexis, for your moving and important words. Good afternoon, seniors, families, and friends. My name is Jackie Schechter, and I'm honored to represent Dunster House on the Senior Class Committee.
Yeah, Dunster!
I have the pleasure of introducing today's female Ivy orator, Taylor K. Phillips. Taylor K. and I met freshman year when we lived 2 floors apart in Weld. Since then, Taylor K. has found a new home in Kirkland House and completed her English concentration and dramatic arts secondary. She has served as the president of the improv troupe On Thin Ice and performed in numerous theatrical productions. She has also honed her love for Red Spice Chicken and Tina Fey. This summer, Taylor K. and her sister Tess will be performing a 2-woman comedy show in her hometown of Kansas City, Missouri. Then she'll move to New York, where by day she will work as a creative strategist for a marketing company. By night, she'll pursue a future career in comedy. Taylor K. would like to thank her parents and her sister for their love and support. Please join me in welcoming Taylor K. Phillips, our 2015 Female Ivy Orator.
Thank you, class officers, faculty, and friends for having me today. It truly is an honor to speak to some of you, and a privilege to make the rest of you feel inferior to me for the next 7.5 minutes. For I stand before you today having truly beaten the odds, I have walked the hallowed halls of Harvard and come out the other side with two things they told me I could never have at the same time: an English degree and a job. I stand here a shining beacon of hope for the next generation of young girls sitting at home right now, rudely correcting someone's grammar. And to them I say, you're right, little Susie, it is whom. But today is not about me and my job. Graduation is about something bigger than us. In the next few days, we'll get to hear from a number of distinguished Harvard alumni, like today's incredible speaker, actress Natalie Portman, and tomorrow's speaker, who is also great. But graduation is also a time of reflection. And I had a lot of questions coming into today about me, about our class. Who are we? Where are we going? What is Gungaru? And to find my answers, I did exactly what my 4 years of a Harvard education taught me. I Googled it at the last minute and found enough very specific things to get me participation points. When we leave Harvard, according to Wikipedia and XXIVMom238 on College Confidential, we will leave the Harvard class of 2015 and join a new group called the Millennials. The comp is super simple. You literally just have to be born between 1983 and 2002. So it's like almost as easy as writing an op-ed for the Crimson. But, guys, some of the facts I learned about millennials, I feel it my duty to impart to you, since 2015 is actually the year in which the millennial generation is poised to overtake the baby boomer generation, both in terms of numbers of people in the workforce and in actual physical force. The baby boomers are very old. But we're not beating the previous generations at everything. For instance, only 26% of millennials right now are married. And I just want to throw out there that I am available. I have an almost spotless medical history and a degree in dramatic arts to fall back on if the English thing doesn't work out. So if anyone would like to beat those odds, not anyone, mostly anyone who's going to work at Bain or who shares a name with a Harvard building, or Dean Katrina. I also learned that we are staying at our jobs for less time. 58% of millennials will leave their jobs after 3 years. And this one stuck out to me because I have a job, but also because it speaks to, I think, a type of constant creative restlessness among us. Or maybe they just fire you after 3 years if you keep showing up 7 minutes late to everything. But all of this moving around between things can also be really exciting. Just look at our speaker today, Natalie Portman. She left Harvard and has changed tons of things, playing Anne Boleyn and Padme and soon Jacqueline Kennedy. And as a woman, I think it's really inspiring to know that I can also leave Harvard and have so many opportunities to be a powerful person's wife. But changing vocations isn't as easy or fun as making a joke about the quad in your class day speech. Guys, it's so far. But seriously, 4 out of every 10 millennials does not have a job. And to those unemployed in the class of 2015, I say, look to the person on your left. Look to the person on your right. If you had to take too long to decide which direction was which, that's probably why you're unemployable. But hey, millennials are doing great things too. 75% of millennials have made a financial donation to a not-for-profit institution. Money to UNICEF for vaccines, or to the Human Rights Campaign for legislative fees, or to our favorite nonprofit, Harvard University, for SWI. More good news, 47% of us are tolerant of other races and other groups. 47%. That is almost half. And our cultural horizons are expanding too. 13% of the millennial generation has seen a drag show. And thanks to Harvard's Hasty Pudding Theatricals, 50% of Harvard students can audition to be in one. also, just as a public service announcement, statistics also show that we as a generation are more trusting than our predecessors. So I have to tell you guys, there is no $10 Amazon gift card. You just filled out a survey. You weren't entered in anything. The fact is, we're all going into a world of big data that sometimes thinks it knows us better than we know ourselves, but we know the percentage game better than anyone. Because before we start counting ourselves among the 61% of millennials who feel their personal responsibility to help the world, or the 39% who apparently are just like, nah. Let's not forget that only 4 years ago, we sat out here as the storied 6.2%, and A Blue. And we all swelled with pride, despite the fact that, and I did the math on this, I am, and each of you are, 0.06% of the graduating class of 2015. You are not even a whole percent. But when I got that email, when I cried with my parents and gave my little sister an inferiority complex that sent her to therapy, on Ivy Day, hey Tess, hey, love you. On Ivy Day 2011, I felt like a whole percent. Hey, I felt like 49%, and I know what 49% feels like. I got one on an Ec 10 midterm once. 49%. It's my first college B. The truth is, in the grand scheme of things, we each all make up like 0.00004% of the millennial generation. But one of those 0.00004% was the first person to say hi to me on campus. One of them cast me in my first big musical. 3 of them are the folk and myths department. Two of those 0.00004% have been to every single show I have ever been in on this campus. 100%. One of you 0.00004% actually left your jacket in my room. And I'm mostly packed up, but I'm just gonna send a picture to that list, and if it's not yours, just reply all no. So as we all go out into the world, probably, according to statistics, unmarried, living with our parents, trusting, philanthropic, barely employed, and racist, let's not forget, Mark Twain once said, that someone else once said, that there are 3 types of lies. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. Because the internet doesn't know all of these things about us because it cares. It knows because millennials have over $1 trillion worth of purchasing power, and they're trying to get us to buy things. And even though it may be tempting to use these numbers to further stratify ourselves and compare our successes to those of our peers inside and outside of Harvard, let's be the however many percent that resist. In our quest to beat the odds, let's not forget to stay odd. Except you, Harvard tour guides, y'all need to stop. Thank you, class of 2015, for a wonderful 18% of my life. Congratulations. And for the 74% of you that are still single, my number is 816-744-0188. Do you get something? 816-744-0188. Thank you.
Good afternoon, class of 2015, friends and family. My name is Bridget Slater, and I'm the senior class committee representative for Kirkland House. Today, I am deeply proud and honored to introduce my friend and Kirkland brother, Sam Clark, as your 2015 male Ivy Order. Graduating Phi Beta Kappa, Sam is a talented man who wears many hats. Or maybe I should say he wears many belts. Or better yet, I could say he wears many headdresses, but we'll get there soon. Able to do impressive flying high kicks, he co-founded the Crimson Kicks Youth Martial Arts program while at Harvard. In the Hasty Pudding Theatricals for 4 years and cast vice president his senior year, Sam has worn many a feathery headdress while performing in their renowned burlesque cross-dressing musicals. He has also acted in numerous shows with the Harvard Radcliffe Dramatic Club and the improv troupe On Thin Ice. In these performances, Sam has donned many hats, but perhaps his most famous is a Yale cap as a Yale tour guide on Yale's campus, leading around tourists and aspiring Yaleys. He filmed this wildly successful prank on the sketch comedy news show on Harvard Time and will continue to act, write, and produce comedy in LA next year. Sam would like to thank his friends Mark Moriello, Gus Myopoulos, Andrew Talbot, Forrest Neal, the Pudding Cast, and the TOC for enriching his time here. I'm confident that Sam will be comfortable addressing this large crowd since he was our UC president for about 7 minutes. So now I present to you Sam Clark, your 2015 Male Ivy Orator.
Hello, class of 2015. Woo! Yeah! Woo! Okay, settle down. Welcome to the historic Tercentenary. Welcome to Harvard Yard. Hello, seniors. Hello, crying parents, texting siblings, and sleeping grandparents. Hello, teaching fellows, young and old, and tenured professors, sober and drunk. Kidding, kidding. Hello, tenured professors, drunk. And hello to Natalie Portman. Natalie, as an aspiring actor myself, I just wanted to say that I really admire your work in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Class of 2015, we graduate tomorrow. My mother tells me this is a big deal. She also tells me, get a job. And no, seriously, get a job. But whether I have a job or not, I will graduate tomorrow. And I think it's important to reflect upon what I share with you all. We've all had different Harvard experiences. Some of us have spent our days here shaking hands with world leaders and celebrities, or creating new iPhone apps, or huffing 5-hour energy in Lamont Basement. We all have different views of how Harvard should change. Some of us want smaller section sizes. Some of us want Harvard to divest from fossil fuels, and some of us just want more tomato basil ravioli soup. And we all have different backgrounds. We have students from all over the world, like England, or Kyrgyzstan, or New York, or New York, or New York. But through all these differences in experiences, worldviews, and backgrounds, one thing has brought us together and guided all of our actions in an incredibly important way. I'm not talking about the pursuit of Veritas, or our hatred of Yale, or even Gungru. I'm talking, of course, about the Harvard Student Handbook, which this totally is. That's right. Without this 185-page tome of rules and regulations governing this hallowed institution, Harvard would be nothing more than a lawless wasteland. Without the Harvard Student Handbook, Dean of the college, Rakesh Khurana, would have to rule Harvard Yard like a Mad Max road warrior, running down underage drinkers with a Hup D Segway affixed with railroad spikes, confiscated keystones, and the skulls of freshmen who snuck flasks in a first chance dance. Without the Harvard Student Handbook, President Drew Faust would convene the ad board in the blood-stained stadium, granting Intro to Congress students nothing more than a dull sword to defend against Faust's unfathomable fury, her nicely pressed pantsuit, and a trident. Without the Harvard Student Handbook, Dean of Freshmen Tom Dingman would probably just keep being himself. What a dude. But luckily, we didn't have to think about that, class of 2015, because the Harvard Student Handbook has been there for us. When we registered for classes every semester, we entered a binding contract that protected us under sacred Harvard law. But how many of us actually read the Harvard Student Handbook? Section kid read it. Mark Zuckerberg read it. I guess those folks who ran that satanic black mass thing probably read it pretty thoroughly. But the rest of us probably didn't. So who's to say we didn't enter a contract granting Harvard our firstborn child or selling Harvard our souls? Some of the employed among us may be used to such soul-draining contracts. Shout out McKinsey. Totally kidding. I meant Bain. Kidding again, I don't know the difference. But for the rest of us, I'll provide a little spark notes for the provisions of the Harvard Student Handbook that you may have missed. In some ways, the Harvard Student Handbook has guided us with simple directives. Standards of Conduct, Part 3, don't steal. General Regulations, Part 8, no radioactive materials on campus. Residential Life, Part 4, bicycles may not be ridden in Harvard Yard. These directives were simple and obvious to nearly all of us, except for you idiots who rode bikes in the yard. Like, honestly, you people were the worst. However, not all regulations in the Harvard Student Handbook were so clear. No. Some parts shifted and changed over our 4 years at this school. Like all great texts, the Bible, Plato's Republic, the Hunger Games Part 3, Mockingjay, the Harvard Student Handbook has not been static and unchanging. Its meaning has evolved as we've matured. The section about honesty comes to mind. I quote, "The college expects that all students will be honest and forthcoming in their dealings with the members of this community." Freshman year, this meant being really, really honest with every other freshman you ever met in Annenberg about everything in your life. During these meals, I learned about the AP exam scores, political affiliations, political ambitions, and deep-seated insecurities of just about every other freshman I met in Annenberg. I even learned some people's names. But as we transitioned to sophomore and junior year and realized that no one cared about our AP exam scores, honesty came to mean something different. In these 2 years, we became honest with ourselves and found our place on campus, be it with a talented group of performers in an a cappella group, with a committed crew of writers in a magazine, or with the Speed Club for gentlemen. But senior year, this honesty extended to those outside the Harvard community as we all began to answer the perennial question, what are you doing next year? In answering this terrible, terrible question, honesty had to become a little more creative. If we were going to be unemployed in our parents' basement, we told people that we were working on a startup. If we got a consulting or finance gig, we told people we were moving to New York. And if we were spending a year traveling without a job, we told people we got a fellowship. All these answers were honest, albeit perhaps creative and interpretive. And who said the aesthetic and interpretive understanding part of our gen ed requirement was worthless? Ha ha. I did. I said that. But after tomorrow, class of 2015, the Harvard Student Handbook will no longer bind us, telling us to be honest, and the rule of Harvard law will no longer protect us. It's been our guardian through thick and thin, through Hurricane Irene and Dean Feaster's shroom emails on shrooms, through the politically controversial Occupy Harvard and the politically silly 2014 UC election, and through Amy Poehler's parade down Mass Ave and Dean Evelyn Hammond's parade through our inboxes. Settle down. As we head off into the real world, the law of Harvard will no longer help us. We won't have protection in the real world when we try to pee on statues or run naked through the streets. Whether our future brings us back here or back home or, God forbid, back to the Gothic architecture of New Haven, the Harvard Student Handbook will no longer be our guardian angel. So here, with you all as my witnesses, before we graduate and leave this hallowed institution, I will burn the Harvard Student Handbook. Just kidding, they wouldn't let me burn the Harvard Student Handbook. But by the end of today, I will eat it. So cheers, class of 2015. As I eat this handbook over the course of this long day, I will internalize everything I've learned in these 4 years at this school. And I hope that you will do the same. I'll miss you guys.
Thank you, Sam. Hello, everybody. My name is Bob Wu.
And my name is Megan Prasad, and we are two of the 2015 class marshals.
We are honored today to introduce our keynote speaker, Academy Award-winning actress, humanitarian, proud mother, and Harvard graduate, Natalie Portman.
Many of you know Natalie from her work on the screen. As an actress and director, she has had a lasting impact on us, from our childhood memories all the way to our dorm room movie nights. Many of us were first introduced to Natalie in middle school as galactic heroine Padme Amidala in Star Wars. Her career continued to blossom on the silver screen as we grew up. As we entered college, we watched her riveting portrayal of Nina in Black Swan. And looking forward, we await her roles as American icons Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Jackie Kennedy.
While her successes as an actress set her apart, what connects Natalie to us are the experiences and memories we share as students at Harvard College. Natalie graduated as a member of the class of 2003, concentrating in psychology while she was here, and was a proud resident of Lowell House. So she understands the crazy journey that we've been on over the past 4 years. She's spoken about what it is to both succeed and struggle at Harvard, as she knows how we feel today. It is our pleasure to welcome her back to the yard. Ladies and gentlemen, Natalie Portman.
Hello, class of 2015. I am so honored to be here today. Dean Khurana, faculty, parents, and most especially graduating students, thank you so much for inviting me. The senior class committee, it's genuinely one of the most exciting things I've ever been asked to do. I have to admit, primarily because I can't deny it, as it was leaked in the WikiLeaks release of the Sony hack, that when I was invited, I replied, and I directly quote my own email, "Wow, this is so nice. I'm gonna need some funny ghostwriters. Any ideas?" This initial response, now blessedly public, was from the knowledge that at my class day, we were lucky enough to have Will Ferrell as class day speaker, and that many of us, hungover or even freshly high, mainly wanted to laugh. So I have to admit that today, even 12 years after graduation, I'm still insecure about my own worthiness. I have to remind myself today, you are here for a reason. Today, I feel much like I did when I came to Harvard Yard as a freshman in 1999, when you guys were, to my continued shock and horror, still in kindergarten. I felt like there had been some mistake, that I wasn't smart enough to be in this company, and that every time I opened my mouth, I would have to prove I wasn't just a dumb actress. So I start with an apology. This won't be very funny. I'm not a comedian, and I didn't get a ghostwriter. But I am here to tell you today, Harvard is giving you all diplomas tomorrow. You are here for a reason. Sometimes your insecurities and your inexperience may lead you to embrace other people's expectations, standards, or values. But you can harness that inexperience to carve out your own path, one that is free of the burden of knowing how things are supposed to be, a path that is defined by its own particular set of reasons. The other day, I went to an amusement park with my soon-to-be 4-year-old son, and I watched him play arcade games. He was incredibly focused, throwing his ball at the target. Jewish mother that I am, I skipped 20 steps and was already imagining him as a major league player with what his aim and his arm and his concentration. But then I realized that when he won, he was playing to trade in his tickets for the crappy plastic toys. The prize was much more exciting than the game to get it. I, of course, wanted to urge him to take joy in the challenge of the game, the improvement upon practice, the satisfaction of doing something well, and even feeling the accomplishment when achieving the game's goals. But all of these aspects were shaded by the little 10-cent plastic men with sticky, stretchy blue arms that adhere to the walls. That was the prize. In a child's nature, we see many of our own innate tendencies. I saw myself in him, and perhaps you do too. Prizes serve as false idols everywhere. Prestige, wealth, fame, power, you will be exposed to many of these, if not all. Of course, part of why I was invited to come speak today, beyond my being a proud alum, is that I've accrued some very coveted toys in my life, including a not-so-plastic, not-so-crappy one, an Oscar. So we bump up against a common trope, I think, of the commencement address, people who have achieved a lot telling you that the fruits of achievement are not always to be trusted. But I think that contradiction can be reconciled and is in fact instructive. Achievement is wonderful when you know why you're doing it, and when you don't know, it can be a terrible trap. I went to a public high school on Long Island, Syosset High School. Ooh, hello, Syosset. The girls I went to school with had Prada bags and flat-ironed hair, and they spoke with an accent I, who had moved there at age 9 from Connecticut, mimicked to fit in. Florida oranges, chocolate cherries. Since I'm ancient and the internet was just starting when I was in high school, people didn't really pay that much attention to the fact that I was an actress. I was known mainly at school for having a backpack bigger than I was and always having whiteout on my hands, as I hated seeing anything crossed out in my notebooks. I was voted for my senior yearbook most likely to be a contestant on Jeopardy, or Code for nerdiest. When I got to Harvard, just after the release of Star Wars Episode 1, I knew I would be starting over in terms of how people viewed me. I feared people would assume I had gotten in just for being famous, and that they would think I was not worthy of the intellectual rigor here. And they would not have been far from the truth. When I came here, I had never written a 10-page paper before. I'm not even sure I'd written a 5-page paper. I was alarmed and intimidated by the calm eyes of fellow students who came here from Dalton or Exeter, who thought that compared to high school, the workload here was easy. I was completely overwhelmed and thought that reading 1,000 pages a week was unimaginable, that writing a 50-page thesis was just something I could never do. I had no idea how to declare my intentions. I couldn't even articulate them to myself. I had been acting since I was 11, but I thought acting was too frivolous and certainly not meaningful. I came from a family of academics and was very concerned with being taken seriously. In contrast to my inability to declare myself, on my first day of orientation freshman year, 5 separate students introduced themselves to me by saying, "I'm going to be president. Remember I told you that." Their names, for the record, were Bernie Sanders, Mark Rubio, Ted Cruz, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton. In all seriousness, I believed every one of them. Their bearing and self-confidence alone seemed proof of their prophecy, where I couldn't shake my self-doubt. I got in only because I was famous. This was how others saw me. It was how I saw myself. Driven by these insecurities, I decided that I was going to find something to do at Harvard that was serious and meaningful, that would change the world and make it a better place. At the age of 18, I had already been acting for 7 years and assumed I'd find a more serious and profound path in college. So freshman fall, I decided to take neurobiology and advanced modern Hebrew literature because I was serious and intellectual. Needless to say, I should have failed both. I got B's for your information, and to this day, every Sunday, I burn a small effigy to the pagan gods of great inflation. But as I was fighting my way through Aleph Bet Yehoshua in Hebrew and the different mechanisms of neural response, I saw friends around me writing papers on sailing and pop culture magazines, and professors teaching classes on fairy tales and the Matrix. I realized that seriousness for seriousness' sake was its own kind of trophy, and a dubious one, a pose I sought to counter some half-imagined argument about who I was. There was a reason I was an actor. I love what I do. And I saw from my peers and my mentors that that was not only an acceptable reason, it was the best reason. When I got to my graduation, sitting where you sit today, after 4 years of trying to get excited about something else, I admitted to myself that I couldn't wait to go back and make more films. I wanted to tell stories, to imagine the lives of others, and help others do the same. I had found, or perhaps reclaimed, my reason. You have a prize now, or at least you will tomorrow. The prize is a Harvard degree in your hand, but what is your reason behind it? My Harvard degree represents for me the curiosity and invention that were encouraged here, the friendships I've sustained, the way Professor Graham told me not to describe the way light hit a flower, but rather the shadow that the flower cast. the way Professor Scarry talked about theater as a transformative religious force, how Professor Coslin showed how much of our visual cortex is activated just by imagining. Now, granted, these things don't necessarily help me answer the most common questions I'm asked. What designer are you wearing? What's your fitness regime? Any makeup tips? But I have never since been embarrassed to myself ask what I might previously have thought was a stupid question. My Harvard degree and other awards are emblems of the experiences which led me to them. The wood-paneled lecture halls, the colorful fall leaves, the hot vanilla at Toscanini's, reading great novels in overstuffed library chairs, running through dining halls screaming, ooh, ah, city step, city step, city step, city step. Woohoo! It's easy now to romanticize my time here, but I had some very difficult times here too. Some combination of being 19, dealing with my first heartbreak, taking birth control pills that have since been taken off the market for their depressive side effects, and spending too much time missing daylight during winter months led me to some pretty dark moments, particularly during sophomore year. There were several occasions I started crying in meetings with professors, overwhelmed with what I was supposed to pull off when I could barely get myself out of bed in the morning. Moments when I took on the motto for my schoolwork, done, not good. If only I could finish my work, even if it took eating a jumbo pack of Sour Patch Kids to get me through a single 10-page paper. I felt that I had accomplished a great feat. I'd repeat to myself, done, not good. A couple of years ago, I went to Tokyo with my husband, and I ate at the most remarkable sushi restaurant. I don't even eat fish, I'm vegan, so that tells you how good it was. Even with just vegetables, this sushi was the stuff you dream about. The restaurant had 6 seats. My husband and I marveled at how anyone could make rice so superior to all other rice. We wondered why they didn't make a bigger restaurant and be the most popular place in town. Our local friends explained to us that all the best restaurants in Tokyo are that small and do only one type of dish, sushi or tempura or teriyaki, because they want to do that thing well and beautifully. And it's not about quantity, it's about taking pleasure in the perfection and beauty of the particular. I'm still learning now that it's about good and maybe never done, that the joy and work ethic and virtuosity we bring to the particular can impart a singular type of enjoyment to those we give to, and of course to ourselves. In my professional life, it also took me time to find my own reasons for doing my work. The first film I was in came out in 1994. Again, appallingly, the year most of you were born. I was 13 years old upon the film's release, and I can still quote what the New York Times said about me verbatim. Ms. Portman poses better than she acts. The film had a universally tepid critical response and went on to bomb commercially. That film was called The Professional, or Leon in Europe, and today, 20 years and 35 films later, it is still the film people approach me about the most to tell me how much they loved it, how much it moved them, how it's their favorite movie. I feel lucky that my first experience releasing a film was initially such a disaster by all standard measures. I learned early that my meaning had to be from the experience of making the film and the possibility of connecting with individuals rather than the foremost trophies of my industry, financial and critical success. And also that those initial reactions could be false predictors of your work's ultimate legacy. I started choosing only jobs I was passionate about and from which I knew I could glean meaningful experiences. This thoroughly confused everyone around me, agents, producers, and audiences alike. I made Goya's Ghosts, a foreign independent film, and studied art history, visiting the Prado every day for 4 months as I read about Goya and the Spanish Inquisition. I made V for Vendetta, a studio action movie for which I learned everything I could about freedom fighters who in other eyes might be called terrorists, from Menachem Begin to the Weather Underground. I made Your Highness, a pothead comedy with Danny McBride, and laughed for 3 months straight. I was able to own my meaning and not have it be determined by box office receipts or prestige. By the time I got to making Black Swan, the experience was entirely my own. I felt immune to the worst things anyone could say or write about me, and to whether an audience felt like going to see my movie or not. It was instructive for me to see that for ballet dancers, once your technique gets to a certain level, the only thing that separates you from others is your quirks, or even flaws. One ballerina was famous for how she turned slightly off balance. You can never be the best technically. Someone will always have a higher jump, or a more beautiful line. The only thing you can be the best at is developing your own self. Authoring your own experience was very much what Black Swan itself was about. I worked with Darren Aronofsky, the film's director, to change my last line in the movie to, "It was perfect," because my character, Nina, is only artistically successful when she finds perfection and pleasure for herself, not when she's trying to be perfect in the eyes of others. So when Black Swan was successful financially and I began receiving accolades, I felt honored and grateful to have connected with people. But the true core of my meaning I had already established, and I needed it to be independent of people's reactions to me. People told me that Black Swan was an artistic risk, a scary challenge to try to portray a professional ballet dancer. But it didn't feel like courage or daring that drew me to it. I was so oblivious to my own limits that I did things I was woefully unprepared to do. And so the very inexperience that in college had made me feel insecure and made me want to play by others' rules now was making me actually take risks I didn't even realize were risks. When Darren asked me if I could do ballet, I told him that I was basically a ballerina, which, by the way, I wholeheartedly believed. When it quickly became clear in preparing for the film that I was maybe 15 years away from being a ballerina, it made me work a million times harder, and of course, the magic of cinema and body doubles helped the final effect. But the point is, if I had known my own limitations, I never would have taken the risk. And the risk led to one of my greatest artistic and personal experiences, in that I not only felt completely free, I also met my husband during filming. Similarly, I just directed my first film, A Tale of Love and Darkness, and was quite blind to the challenges ahead of me. The film is a period film, completely in Hebrew, in which I also act, with an 8-year-old child as a co-star. All of these are challenges I should have been terrified of, as I was completely unprepared for them. But my complete ignorance as to my own limitations looked like confidence and got me into the director's chair. Once there, I had to figure it all out, and my belief that I could handle these things, contrary to all evidence of my ability to do so, was half the battle. The other half was very hard work. The experience was the deepest and most meaningful one of my career. Now, clearly, I'm not urging you to go perform heart surgery without the knowledge to do so. Making movies, admittedly, has less drastic consequences than most professions and allows for a lot of effects that make up for mistakes. The thing I'm saying is, make use of the fact that you don't doubt yourself too much right now. As we get older, we get more realistic, and that includes about our own abilities or lack thereof. And that realism does us no favors. People always talk about diving into things you're afraid of. That never worked for me. If I'm afraid, I run away, and I would probably urge my child to do the same. Fear protects us in many ways. What has served me is diving into my own obliviousness, being more confident than I should be, which everyone tends to decry in American kids, and those of us who have been grade inflated and ego inflated. Well, it can be a good thing if it makes you try things you never might have tried. Your inexperience is an asset and will allow you to think in original, unconventional ways. Accept your lack of knowledge and use it as your asset. I know a famous violinist who told me that he can't compose because he knows too many pieces, so when he starts thinking of a note, an existing piece immediately comes to mind. Just starting out, one of your biggest strengths is not knowing how things are supposed to be. You can compose freely because your mind isn't cluttered with too many pieces, and you don't take for granted the way things are. The only way you know how to do things is your own way. You here will all go on to achieve great things. There is no doubt about that. Each time you set out to do something new, your inexperience can either lead you down a path where you will conform to someone else's values, or you can forge your own path, even if you don't realize that's what you're doing. If your reasons are your own, your path, even if it's a strange and clumsy path, will be wholly yours, and you will control the rewards of what you do by making your internal life fulfilling. At the risk of sounding like a Miss America contestant, the most fulfilling things I've experienced have truly been the human interactions. Spending time with women in village banks in Mexico with Finca, a microfinance organization, meeting young women who were the first and only in their communities to attend secondary school in rural Kenya with Free the Children, a group that builds sustainable schools in developing countries, trekking with guerrilla conservationists in Rwanda. It's a cliche because it's true, that helping others ends up helping you more than anyone. Getting out of your own concerns and caring about someone else's life for a while reminds you that you are not the center of the universe, and that in the ways we are generous or not, we can change the course of someone's life. Even at work, the small feats of kindness crew members, directors, fellow actors have shown me have had the most lasting impact. And of course, first and foremost, the center of my world is the love I share with my family and friends. I wish for you that your friends will be with you through it all, as my friends from Harvard have been together since we graduated. My friends from school are still very close. We have nursed each other through heartaches and danced at each other's weddings. We've held each other at funerals and rocked each other's new babies. We've worked together on projects, helped each other get jobs, and thrown parties for when we've quit bad ones. And now our children are creating a second generation of friendship as we look at them toddling together, haggard and disheveled working parents that we are. Grab the good people around you, don't let them go. The biggest asset this school offers you is a group of peers that will be both your family and your school for life. I remember always being pissed at the spring here in Cambridge, tricking us into remembering a sunny yard full of laughing frisbee throwers after 8 months of dark, frigid library dwelling. It was like the school had managed to turn on the good weather as a last memory we should keep in mind that would make us want to come back. But as I get farther away from my years here, I know that the power of this school is much deeper than weather control. It changed the very questions I was asking. To quote one of my favorite thinkers, Abraham Joshua Heschel, to be or not to be is not the question. The vital question is how to be and how not to be. Thank you. I can't wait to see how you do all the beautiful things you will do.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for your words of reflection, advice, and inspiration.
Another round of applause for Natalie.
My name is Annie Garofalo, and I have the pleasure of representing Courier House.
And I'm Emily Kramer, and I'm happy to be your Adams House representative.
Together, we have the honor of introducing the Class Ode. Each year, members of the class have the opportunity to write 2 verses to the tune of Fair Harvard and compete for the chance to present their opus on Class Day. The Class Ode celebrates our unique and shared experiences throughout our 4 years at Harvard, allowing the spirit of the class of 2015 to live on through song.
2 verses may not seem like enough to express everything we have felt during our time here. Like the joy and relief after finishing our last exams, the sun's warmth on the first day of spring, or most importantly, the love and admiration we feel for our closest friends. Even so, this year's writers of the Class Ode have done a remarkable job at representing a piece of our college lives in just 124 words. We would like to introduce the writers, Theo, Aleja, Bianca, Ali, and Eric, to present the 2015 Class Ode. Please rise now and join us in performing the Class Ode, sung to the tune of Fair Harvard. The lyrics can be found printed in the back of the program.
As strangers we entered with wisdom in mind through these ancient and venerable gates. Now as friends all together we meet on this stage to discover what future awaits. We have weathered the storms, we have conquered all these challenges faced, we have grown. We have seen second chances and stayed ever strong. We have come to make Harvard our own. Fair Harvard, we've wandered in these hallowed halls, built new spaces to live and to learn. As we stand with hearts open and eyes to the sky, to the new task before us we turn. So boldly we go, the unknown ahead, leaving echoes of memories behind. For tomorrow from under these gates we will step and depart to serve all humankind.
Wow, here we are. Good afternoon, incredible class of 2015. My name is Shih and I am honored to serve as your second class marshal, basically the Yale to Sitzer's Harvard. I hope you've been as touched and inspired as I have been today, watching our class come together to celebrate this wild ride that has been college, complete with successes, failures, sleepless nights, brain breaks, brain extended vacations, and mistakes. Like the one time I finally downloaded and tried to use Uber, but then it drove me straight to the friend zone. These past 4 years have been our most formative. We've learned, we've laughed, we've loved, and we've lost our jackets at some owl party. If anyone has seen a black North Face jacket, hit me up. Most of all, we've grown. As we depart, I hope we reflect on the many experiences that have somehow accumulated momentum to become the narrative of our extraordinary journey at Harvard. Unless you live in the quad, in which case your journey revolves around Shuttle Boy. You see, as we sat in Sanders Theater last week, 4 years after our freshman talent show, the final performers began singing the song, Lean on Me. In that magical moment, that song conveyed a message that it would have been impossible for us to go through these 4 years at Harvard without being there for each other. We have found someone to lean on, and we have been there for someone else when life happens. We've built friendships that have helped us to surmount the pressure to be perfect and have truly allowed us to open up about our vulnerabilities. It's that friend that stayed up with you till 2 a.m. to meticulously reassemble your purpose to life after your 10-year plan came crashing down because of that one failed exam. Hi, pre-meds. It's your roommate staying with you to eat ice cream after a really bad breakup. It's the classmates who genuinely asks, "How are you doing?" and actually stops to listen. Above all, this does not end here. It's not called culmination. It is called commencement. Harvard class of 2015, let's go into the world and make the world dance. Like First Chance Dance all over again, or Last Chance Dance for those of us who killed the Match 15 game. Thanks a lot, Harvard class of 2015. Have a good one.